Well, welcome to the channel, everybody. This is slightly different and going to be slightly new for some of you. We've had a two-ball golf show going on, haven't we?
We have, yeah. So we've had a different channel that we've broadcasted on, as well as also on a couple of different other avenues, like you can watch it or listen to it.
Yeah.
But we've decided to
move it over onto the main channel as you're watching this right now, just to trial it, because we feel like it's an offering that a lot of people might want to see. So it will go out, as Lester said, as a podcast. So it is up to an hour long, this episode. Comment down below and let us know what you think about it.
join in the conversation as well. Loads of comments below. And if there's anything you want us to discuss or talk about in the world of golf or YouTube or anything in particular, then also comment below and we will try to include it in a future two-ball golf show.
Well, Bernie, this is actually episode 11 of the two-ball golf show with myself, Dan Hendriksen, and Bernie Barnes.
I've got double named.
Bernie.
So good they named him twice.
This is actually the first podcast back in 2024.
I can't even say that they said it would never last because I thought we'd finished.
I actually thought we were going to be struggling to get going again.
I thought you'd bin me off. I didn't know what was going on. I was a little bit upset.
But this is a two-way thing here, Bernie.
It just brought back terrible memories and
you were
counselling and stuff.
Brung back.
It's good to be back, isn't it?
It's great to be
back. Happy New Year to everyone. Do we still say that, even though we're like three-quarters of the way through January?
I feel like we're gone with that now.
Right, okay.
I feel like we're gone with that. And I actually, there's actually quite a few things that I want to get through today, and I know you want to get through as well, because there is a lot of things that probably I cannot share with everybody at this moment in time, because things are changing afoot.
Yeah.
For me personally,
I would say not only is the golfing world evolving, developing and changing, but you and your YouTube journey, we've got a journey?
Let's go a journey.
And everything connected with that is all shifting as well, isn't it? But I think there's a lot of people in a similar situation and position to yourself, and the landscape is changing, and it's important to evolve, isn't it? And to move with the times as such, I guess.
And I don't know about you, but a lot of people ask me, Dan, what type of YouTube videos do you watch?
Yeah.
And I do watch YouTube videos, but I don't necessarily focus too much on golf, because it feels like a bit of a busman's holiday to me when I start watching golf videos.
I mean, it's good. I guess it's good to have a variety of content of different sports, or just completely different genres to what you're involved in. But I personally only watch golf YouTube. I'll be honest. Yeah.
Well, actually, there's a lot, and this is something I think for you certainly, and whether you have the time to do it, but with you developing your own content now, and using your own cameras, using your own audio, and all those little things that actually are massively important. That's what I kind of got into. I could give you a number of recommendations of different types of filmmaker type videos that just give you, what they'll give you is like a different way in which you can film something. Yeah. So it might be how you may watch something. Like, I don't know whether you look at films now. I know you're a big film buff.
Yeah, I do love films, with her.
I don't know do you ever switch on a film now and look at how they kind of visualise how they film it?
So the biggest...
how many cuts there are?
The biggest thing I've noticed, and this is completely... We're going now away from
golf.
The subject in golf, but I watch quite a lot of soaps. I spend majority of the time living with my mum. I have got my own flat and stuff. But she watches the soaps like religiously. I put them on in the background. I watch them if she's watching them. But some of the cutting from scene to scene is pretty horrific, and I notice it. Like, someone can still be talking and they've cut to the next scene. Yeah. So I mean, I would put that down to the fact that they're producing so many episodes over a very short period of time. I mean, Coronation Street, I think, is on 4 or 5 times a week, whereas in the past it was on twice a week, 3 times a week. So I'd say the editing is not as good as it was.
Right, that's interesting.
But you notice stuff like that, but films as well, and, just the way you position things. But I mean, the other thing as well is when people are focused in the shot. So who's focused, who's talking, and then they'll blur out, and then it will go on to somebody else. And the way they switch from cameras to cameras. So I'd say I'm more aware of it. It's not something I would necessarily sit there and analyse everything I watch.
Yeah.
So I'm more into the content, and rather than the visuals and the audio, it's more what I'm trying to produce rather than how good
how to film
yeah, how to film,
how
I
to
guess.
audio it. Yeah, all of those little things.
And you're more professional, your channel's more professional, more polished than what I'll ever be or want to be.
Yeah.
But
And that's fine, because ultimately that's the great thing about YouTube in some ways, isn't it? And even if you look at a lot of documentaries, certainly if you watch Netflix documentaries and things like that, they're filmed in a very different way than probably they used to be. A lot more, I would say, what I call run and gun stuff, where you got your and they're not afraid to keep the camera moving at a certain point, whereas in a Hollywood film you wouldn't see it do that, or Shudder or whatever, and they're not afraid to change all that. But I definitely recommend watching a few of the filmmakers of YouTube, should we say. But what's interesting about that is that there is a number of huge channels that are actually stepping away from YouTube.
okay.
They're taking either a sabbatical, whatever you want to call it. They're telling us that they're shutting down their production. And a lot of these guys, you've got to remember, and this kind of almost like falls back into what I've been feeling, is a great line that I heard yesterday. Laura, talk about your soaps. Laura was watching something, and it was basically somebody popped out and it said, it's just a hobby that's just got a bit out of control. And what I mean by that is that these guys that end up being very big YouTubers and having huge audiences and things like that, you go from something that you just enjoy doing as a hobby.
Yeah.
You're learning, you're showcasing. You never know where it's going to go, because the whole thing, you don't know if it just never blows up or it does blow up. And you start switching a camera on to share either your journey or share things that you know. So you're sharing your expertise, and then before you know it, there's a big audience that you then start to get under pressure of feeling like you need to feed that audience. So you need to continue your content. So therefore you're also then mindful of what the audience are saying and what their opinions are, and how you can develop and become even better at what you do. And then what happens is you take on staff, because you're trying to then keep up with the demand, and then you're keeping up with then accounts, and then you're trying to make plans, you're then trying to deal with sponsors, and oh my God, it just continues and continues and continues.
Turns from a hobby to
an out of control job.
I'd say, I mean, I'm lucky in the fact that I don't have the added pressures of a family and a lot going on in the home life. So to produce 2 or 3 videos a week, which I'm trying to do in this year, is although it is time consuming, and I don't edit as quick as other people, etc. But I mean, if you've got a family on top of that and the pressures of all that, I mean, it's hard to balance it, isn't it?
Have you felt any pressure yet with a video that you've either said that you're going to release it and you don't quite get it in on time to get out there? Do you feel that there's a pressure point there now?
Yesterday's video, I do thumbnails in advance. That's what I tend to do. Plan the videos I'm going to do, thumbnail it. So I have like 5 or 6 thumbnails already stored that I might need to make a video for that thumbnail. I almost use it as a storage of ideas. But I sometimes put, this video is going to be out 5 p.m. on Monday, and at like midday on Monday, I'm still finishing off that video, which is not the way I'd want to have my YouTube content. I mean, before Christmas, I was 2-3 videos ahead and steaming on. I was like, I'm going to push on now, I'm going to do this. But I was putting a video out every 5 days. Now I'm doing 2 a week.
Yeah.
So the pressure of that, and it's just, you something happens, it rains.
Yeah.
Or you don't feel too good that day, or a video takes longer than you think. Some videos take 3-4 days when you think, oh, it's going to be a quick video, and it doesn't. Yeah. You just don't know, and it's just, you feel like, oh, I need to get one. I mean, I've got a video now that I need to do for Friday, which I filmed yesterday. I've got like 2 days to edit it and get it out.
Yeah.
And once I've done that, you've gone on to the next one. So it is a continuous process, and I know how you feel. You've done it. This is your 3rd or 4th? Is this 3rd year?
4th year.
4th year full time, and
3 years prior to that. So
I mean, you've had more of a journey. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to feel in a year's time, or 18 months' time, the plan for me, I don't know whether this is achievable, and you could probably give me some advice, is in the summer I'm going to smash out a load of course vlogs, because that's what my content mainly is, and have them stored and edited so that I can go, right, January, I'm going to have completely January off, maybe take a whole month off, or even
Whilst
plan...
the weather's bad,
or even plan the odd week, go, right, I'm going to have a week off in June, because I want to do this, and just to try and make it more structured. But what do you feel about that? Is that achievable? Or?
I think that is achievable. I think you can dedicate and store videos that can come out. But the only issue with that is that sometimes it can be a little bit dated with some of the stuff that you do. So if you hold something back for too long, it might be a bit dated. I've got videos that I've done in the past that have never gone out.
No. Because
they're almost like that time's gone, or that person's not, let's say, involved anymore, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with that, but that's just down to planning. I actually think having a backup
long-term planning then better, you think, or I mean,
I think, you know, realistically, if you're going to take like a month off, like it's like the golf industry does actually shut down in August a lot of the time with the school holidays and things like that.
Problem is, it's prime time for filming.
Prime time for filming. It's great weather, as you said, and it's so you've got to be very careful with it. What I would the one thing that I would say, and I stress this to you, and I know I've talked to you about this off camera, but don't worry. Like, I used to worry that if I didn't put out a video every day, or if I missed a Sunday morning show or whatever it was, I worried that the channel would fall apart and nobody would watch then after that, or I'd lose all the audience. Like, the audience they're not going anywhere. They'll meander through their own journey of YouTube anyway, because they're going to go off and watch other people, or they might find you a bit boring for a while, or whatever that is, you know. Don't worry, because they're still there. They're still keeping an eye. If they've started watching YouTube, they're not going to walk away from YouTube in general. So they'll come back and bop in and see what you're up to and things like that. So I would say, if you want to take a month off, or you want to take a couple of weeks off because the weather's not great, or you've got a bit of an injury from football, which I know you struggle with a bit, don't worry. And also, you know...
I'm sort of using it, though, I'd say, is to try out different ideas and to make content slightly different to what I would normally do. Yeah. And just to almost, not like a trial, but just pop things out there, see what works. Oh, that was an easy video to make. It's got good views. I'm going to do that in the same style, or that video didn't do so well, so that needs to be changed. Almost like a pre-season.
Yeah, and people, I think people also used to have a bit, or people still do have a bit of a pop at me about, the direction of the channel and the type of content. I'm just not enjoying the type of content that you put out now, or whatever it is. Like, that's fine. That's 100% their opinion. But I have never set it out that I'm going to make this type of content and this type of content only. No. Like, I have literally, for the last 4 years on this channel, just meandered our way through ups and downs, and you're always just searching. I'm learning every day.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. That's what I enjoy the most.
Yeah, and you're in that same boat where, you know, that will never change, because you will continue to search for not what the audience want, but what you enjoy the most doing.
So the other thing, which I might as well ask you for advice and stuff as well, it's turned into a bit of a YouTube chat, isn't it?
Yeah.
But so I make videos sometimes that I apologise for certain things, like or if I'm changing what I'm going to do for the next month, for example, like I'm going to do a few review videos.
Yeah.
There's going to be less sort of course vlogs where it's off a main camera, there's shot traces, you know, all the glitz and glamour of a what I would call a course vlog, and it's just going to be off my phone, or I'm changing the content. I go on and tell people and apologise, whereas I guess what you're saying is you should never apologise, should you?
No, and I at the end of the day, where we are extremely lucky, and I would say that this is, if I look around, you know, I would say probably the closest person to us with this is maybe Alex Etchers to a point. And Alex Evans, you know, they created a rapport with their audience, as in, you know, we've created a bus tour. Yeah. You know, we've created a bus tour that
like a community, I guess.
Like a community. Yeah. And because when you're making your videos, and when I make my videos, you actually see the faces of people that you've met in the past that you've really enjoyed their company, and you want to. You also almost want to keep, you want them to be happy with what you put out, and you know what they like. They tell you that. So when you drop your quality of what you feel is the best content, or you drop the quality of the course vlog, or whatever it is that you do, you're going to apologise. You're going to naturally apologise. Yeah. I would say that that's not what they want, because they don't need to hear you apologise. You're trying your best, and you're doing what you're trying to do. So, but I would say that's your natural personality coming through as well. Yeah. So I wouldn't knock yourself for that, but I would definitely take it out.
Last question.
Yeah.
So you say you watch a lot of other sort of YouTube. Would you think that if you watch, I watch, mine's, like I said, is mainly golf orientated YouTube.
Yeah.
And particular personalities, particular channels that I like. I'm not one to sort of go and look and try and discover people. If I know them and stuff, I like to watch them. Are you ever worried that you'll be influenced by the type of content they're created and almost not copy their style, but certainly parts of your content will be similar to what they're producing? Does that ever concern you? Because that's one thing that concerns me a little bit. I've tried to be different to what you do. I've learned, the majority of what I've learned has come from you. I'd say 90% of what I know is stuff that I've learned whilst working with you. I'd say 5% or 10% from Mark. Maybe the other 5% is from YouTube.
Yeah.
But I've tried to make my content different to you. My course vlogs are different to how you would film them.
Yeah.
In certain aspects. But are you ever worried that it's almost like copying other people?
Yes. And this is one of the reasons why I don't watch it. And if you take, I had a conversation with Rick Shields about it. He watches everything. He keeps his eye on the ball with everything that goes out from every content creator. So we're making this video now. He's probably going to watch this, my brain doesn't work that well in that way. So I don't really want to hear someone else's opinion about a driver or a review of a club that they've done, because I want to create my own opinion from the information that the companies give me, and then I create I don't want it to be. I hear snippets from people when they say, "Oh, it does this and it does that," and I may jump on that in that light and go, "Oh, well, here's an example of that." So I haven't quite finished off or done my video for the Ping G430 10K Max driver. No. I've hit it. I've done a foremost review on it.
Yeah.
Great product. Joe the Pro loves it and is probably going to put it in the golf bag this year. Is it for me? No, not at all. Rick Shields has recently put out a podcast with him and Guy where they've kind of not slated, but they've certainly said, like, hang on a minute, Ping. You've launched a driver here that is that's come out into the G430 family, and is, you've done a disservice to your audience, your clients, by releasing the G430 back then and then not releasing the 10K version. Therefore, now if someone's gone out and bought the G430 Max as an example, and now there's a Max 10K, do they feel a bit annoyed in the fact that that's come out later? If they'd have known about it, would they have waited? Well, for me, I get what they're saying, and I'm not going to have a pop at Ping about this. You don't know the situation of what.
No, it might not have been ready to go.
It might not have been ready to go
when the 430 series was ready to go. That's.
So you don't know. However, what I would say is that the G430 10K Max is not going to be for everybody. No. Because it's so big in its profile, it doesn't fit my eye at all. No. Whereas the 430 Max does fit my eye. And actually, it sits perfectly between the Max and the LS, as far as I'm concerned. So it's kind of sandwiched in the middle there, and actually covers an even bigger group of people now for what Ping want. But could I have been influenced by what they said about that? And yes, it certainly triggered something in my mind to say, hang on a minute, this release is a bit late. Why have we got this out now? Yeah. So I don't like watching other people because of that. I want it to be my own stuff. Yeah. But going back to what you said about, what you've learned, okay, you could say that a large proportion of what you've learned is the things that we've done well or not done well throughout the years of doing our own YouTube channel. But I only learned that from Mark. Like a lot
Yeah.
of the stuff that I've had to almost like reinvent myself. My character comes through in my own channel, as does yours.
Yeah.
So you may have learnt things from what I've done or what Mark's done or what Lockie's done or whatever, but ultimately you've put your own spin on it.
That's my biggest, not challenge. The thing I want to improve on this year is to bring out. I felt last year, I was so focused on the content, I concentrated mainly on course vlogs.
Yeah.
Making sure those course vlogs were as good as I could do. That everybody was knowing what they were doing. The people with the camera knew how to zoom. They felt comfortable, etc. But I feel like I'm at a stage that the regular people on there, like Josh, Rich Malone, like Jack, know how to use a camera, that I don't have to worry about that aspect. And now I can feel like I can bring out more of my own character and not just make it about golf, but make it like we did. And I think that was the best bit about your channel is the characters, and people get to learn about their journey and what they've done in the past, what they're going to do in the future, and invest in them. I'm going to try and do that to make my channel more personal, and put the filming side and the content and how polished it is one side, and try and bring out more sort of the character traits that I'd want to grow that way, rather than he makes the best, he does the best, he's got the best zoomers, look at that lovely framing of the drive he's just hit and stuff like that. But I want to try and get away from that a little bit.
Yeah. No, I get that, and I think over time you'll evolve, and you'll also find, exactly what you said about your iPhone, using your iPhone. You got to remember, the way you film is you're in tournaments on your own, filming your own rounds of golf. Like, that's hard work.
Yeah.
And for you to be out there carrying a Sony camera
It's
to
impossible.
do that, it's going to take you so long to set that up. Whereas with a phone, it's just quick and easy.
Yeah.
I know you've invested in some new microphones, which I hope you can get them up and running on your phone as well, because actually that audio will just be so much better and crisper for people to be able to see what's going on. It will take the wind out as well.
Yeah.
So don't be, it is what you're creating is what it is. You will look back on it in 10 years' time or 5 years' time and go, oof, like, oh, wow, that I was... I've just learned so much more from it all now.
I mean, you only got... So the biggest indicator of that is looking at thumbnails.
Yeah.
So look at your original thumbnails and then look how they develop, and you think, wow, that's like, from what... I mean, I have been going back and changing a few of the older thumbnails. I think that's a terrible thumbnail, or things like that you don't realise at the time, like the positioning of where the actual time of the video goes. It always goes in...
Bottom right
corner, which you don't want any people... The biggest mistake I see, and if I... giving any advice on thumbnails to anybody who watches this who either makes YouTube videos or is thinking of them, remember that is going to cover up the right hand side section of your thumbnail, so don't have any of the important stuff in there. Try and leave it blank if you can, because literally it's going to go over the top of it. And I used to put writing down the bottom. Like, it looks lovely when you make a nice thumbnail, writing everywhere, but that is not the last word, or a couple of words is just getting lost behind the time, and it just you learn stuff, don't you? And
small things.
It's amazing what you can pick up.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. But actually, moving away from our own journey of YouTube, let's talk about the golf world a little bit here, because I know there's things to get into.
There's a lot's happened, isn't it?
There is a lot. I mean, do we jump out straight out the bat and talk about amateur golfer Nick Dunlap, who has won out on the PGA Tour? Is that our first subject? I feel like it should be our first subject.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd say that everyone loves a good story and a good journey, and he's not an unknown. Years ago, an amateur golfer was generally an amateur golfer. I'm talking 30 years ago, probably pre-Paul.
Pre-Paul, yeah.
Pre-Paul, does that make sense? Yeah. So an amateur golfer would be somebody who maybe had a full-time job, had a family, and was maybe a weekend golfer. Plays in some big tournaments, but they had to earn money through work. But these amateur golfers these days, and the lads that go through the college system in America, even the guys that play for England and high-end amateurs, a lot of them don't have jobs. They are full-time golfers. Yeah. They practice full-time. They have coaching from the best coaches around the world. and they travel around tournaments around the world. So they're playing mini tours. They're getting the complete education and grounding from even being an amateur golfer. They're just not earning money directly from winning tournaments. They're getting credit cards off golf companies. They're getting off England Golf Fund. They're getting expenses paid. They're getting everything sorted for them. A lot of them have got managers. They'll have sponsors through golf clubs who might not be giving them money, but they'll be giving them other things. And there's lots of stuff going on behind the scenes, and they can make a living being a top amateur. I think that's important to say. So he's not just come out of nowhere. He's the US amateur champion.
Is he US amateur?
I think so. He's won. I think I'm pretty sure he's.
US amateur.
Yeah,
champion.
so he's a player he's playing college golf. He's having some great results.
Yeah.
He's played in tournaments. He's not just rocked up, qualified for the tournament and won it. He
was on the winning Walker Cup team.
Played in the Walker Cup. I mean, that's the closest you'll get to a Ryder Cup team, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great golfer he's had the education. He's not just an unknown who's popped out of nowhere and hang on a minute, he just won.
Interestingly,
same with the Swedish guy.
Yeah, Oberg.
Yeah.
I looked at his kind of not resume, but I certainly looked at, like, he's mentioned that he's played in a number of tour events up to this point. I mean, I think the things that he's played in are majors, so he's definitely played US Open. I think he played US PGA and one other, but he's missed the cuts in those events.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from his achievement. I'm just putting into perspective
what an amateur golfer is.
Yeah, what an amateur golfer is and what it...
100%.
They're not amateurs now, in my opinion.
No, and actually that goes back a lot further than probably, like, there's a name that jumps out to me, like a Bob Knott.
Yeah.
One of the people that we, unfortunately he's not with us anymore, but we looked up to him as a youngsters growing up.
100%.
He was a county champion many times and went on to play in some England seniors stuff.
I think he was in England International as a senior, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he was, I would say, the ultimate amateur golfer in some ways. That he had a normal job, but he played at weekends. Yeah. This isn't the case with the current setup, and wasn't the case certainly for people like me, my brother. For you had a couple of years of playing full-time amateur golf, so those days are gone. What is amazing about this situation is that, yes, you're always going to get, every 30 years, let's say, you're always going to get a good amateur that pops through the ranks and does well. Chris Wood is a prime example of someone that did really well at the Open Championship one year.
Yeah. Justin Rose did well at the Open Championship one year. You know, all these players that have come through the ranks, and then obviously Phil Mickelson in 1991 winning on tour. Yep. Shane Lowry won as an amateur, won the Irish, didn't he? Because Mickelson won back-to-back, didn't he? Won as an amateur and as a pro, I think.
Did he?
Pretty sure, yeah. I'd have to check that, but from my knowledge, I'm thinking he won the team tournament.
Yeah.
Back-to-back, one's an amateur, one's a pro.
But he shot 29. Did he shoot 29 under par? 29 under par out in the desert is so impressive to them. Yeah. And actually to when you probably a bit twitchy coming down the last few holes, I would imagine, to then hold that putt on the last to win it. Fantastic.
Oh,
to
brilliant.
Win by one.
I wasn't undermining or belittling what he'd done. I was just trying to point out that it's probably, in this day and age, there could be more amateurs that win events if they can get in the events.
Yeah.
That's all I was saying, because they're like, they're not amateur golfers now.
Where's his journey go from here, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, he's withdrawn from this week's event. The statement is he wants to take a bit of time away from it. He wants to just get a bit of normality back in his life, which is understandable, because he's going to have the press wanting to speak to him. He's going to have interviews. There's going to be questions, and he might not have the answers. It might have come as a shock to him as well as other people, but he has withdrawn, which I'm one of those that tries to look a little bit deeper into why he's withdrawn. And I might be putting 2 and 2 together, coming up with 5, as I usually do, but the live event's start in a couple of weeks. They haven't announced every single player. I know live are still in discussions with several players to join their tour. Has he withdrawn because he's going to be part of that? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I'd hope to think he would have another year or so, or 2 years playing PGA Tour before he even considered making that step. But if someone's coming in offering you that much money instantly to sign for Liv, there must be a massive temptation to jump.
Well,
as he's a hot property at the moment. What do you think? I think
it's a situation. You've heard it here first, Bernie. You've created another one.
I'm sure other people have probably had the same theory. But
I never thought about that. I literally, I've never thought about that. And the reason I've never thought about that is that when you win an event like he's just won out of the blue, really, I think he has probably been advised. I hope he's been advised to just take a step back a minute, because, as you quite rightly said, there's going to be a lot of media attention, and let's let him now develop into the player that ultimately he should become. Yeah. And take a step back, spend some time with your family, go back to the college, go back to your college mates. He's still a kid at the end of the day.
I mean, is he gonna stop his studies and play golf full time?
Well, that's a question.
Another question.
I don't know where he's at. Is he a senior and he's coming into his last year? I would think he's
20, isn't he? I mean, I don't know.
He's 20, is he?
Yeah.
So he might even be a sophomore. So he might still be. He might be in his third year then. Yeah. Potentially. Don't know. Have to do a bit more research into that. But again, these are the questions that he's got to ask himself. You can't just then swan off on tour and off you go.
But you've got to counter that with the fact that other amateur golfers or people in his position in the past have had a really good maybe week or even 2 or 3 weeks, and then they've gone on to tour and then not fulfilled their potential to start with. Yeah. Justin Rose. I know Justin Rose is one of the best players of our generation, major champion. Yeah, done it all. Still playing great golf, but he missed cut after cut after cut when he turned pro, and that could have broke lesser people, and he could generally have earned next to nothing from golf. He could have faded out, like, well, I'm not good enough, I can't do this. Lack of confidence, whatever. Obviously not abilities. He had the ability there. So this, Nick might be thinking, hang on a minute, they're going to pay me 100 million, 200 million, whatever you've asked for. Yeah. Instantly, I'm made. And it doesn't matter if he turns up on Live for a season and stinks the place out. He's not going to, because he's so good, I would think. But he could shoot 10 over par every round, but he doesn't need to worry about money and all the bits that come with it. There's got to be temptation.
I'm sure at some level it's been discussed. I'm sure it has, because ultimately Liv want the younger players. They want.
Of course they do. They need a breeding ground. They need people coming through, don't they? They need those stories of. You take so many of the best players in the world and put them there. That's brilliant. But you want characters. You want stories. You want. He's exclusive to our tour. Yeah. Come and see this guy. This is the next big thing, etc. That's what you want, isn't it? And
100%.
He's the story at the moment, and what I'm saying is that story sometimes gets replaced with another story, and you can be yesterday's newspaper on the fish and chips, can't you?
You certainly could, Bernie. You certainly could. But I don't think so. I think he's just taking a chill out for maybe a week or two, and let's just assess the situation, see where he ends up in a couple of weeks' time.
If you're
back
right,
on tour. I'm pretty sure he's back on the PGA Tour.
If you're right, just remember you heard it here first. He's staying on the PGA Tour.
Delete
as appropriate.
There's another one.
If he's left, we're right, and if he stays, we're right.
A couple of events more importantly for us in Europe. Dubai back-to-back, isn't it?
Yeah. Bit of sun, which is nice, isn't it?
Bit of sunshine, nice to see. Nice to see. Always nice to see the PGA Tour players that are graduates off the DP World Tour that have gone over to the PGA Tour to now come back and play in those Rolex Series events. Yeah. Rory McIlroy could have argued that he should have won the week before in Dubai, and then carried on to then win, come back from nowhere. I mean, he shot 9 under on the Saturday moving day.
Shows his character to deal with adversity like that and disappointment of not getting over the line when he should have done, in my opinion, and then come back and win the next event. Like, superb, yeah.
It's just such a mature golfer now. It's so impressive to see
want him to. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of his. I respect him as a golfer. He doesn't do much for me, but I still want him to win a major, and preferably the Masters, to get that Grand Slam. Just to cement what is golfing wise is a unbelievable CV and career, and I just think that would be the top of it, to top it all off, just to win, get the Grand Slam. Yeah. Or is it the Grand Slam? Yeah, all the majors. and to win another major, because it's been a big distance of time between his last win and where we are now, and he's too good a player not to have.
No, I completely agree.
And that's during his peak years, really, as well, isn't it?
No, it is. You know, he did backtrack, didn't he? We talk about the Ryder Cup and things like that, and he backtracked a lot when it's obviously...
He's softened, I'd say, to the whole situation.
I would say softened. I think he's been hurt. I think he's tried to voice and be the voice of the PGA
He's thrown
Tour.
under the bus, really, when let's be honest.
Yeah, and I think he's just been hurt. And for me, it's like when you get into situations where, you know, you feel like you're doing what you think is the right thing and you're supporting a cause or a company or whatever it is, and then they shaft you a little bit, you're going to feel that hurt there. And I think he's actually, if he is hurt, I think he's dealing with it very well, because, you know, he has a platform that he could voice his opinion to a huge level.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because a lot of the time, like the cameras and the microphones are pushed in front of you, and you're asked an opinion on something that you may not have had time to think about. And we're all a lot of us are emotional. I know I'm an emotional person. Say what you think at times, and then sometimes you regret your actions or the words, and it's so difficult, isn't it? I know they have media training, but still the emotion takes over above any training you had, and you say stuff and you get criticised. I mean, it's so hard, isn't it? I mean,
you're 100% right. You know, I'm doing this psychology stuff at the moment where, you know, you split the brain into two and you live in the process side and your left-hand side, which is where Paul kind of lives a lot of his life, and then you spend the right-hand side, which is your emotional side, which is probably where you and I live most of our lives. And I think if you look back at some of the interviews that Rory's had, you know, when he was at the Ryder Cup and he was very emotional, and like this was the Ryder Cup where they lost it in the States, you know, he's crying and he's saying, you know, F words and things like that on camera. You know, he is very much in the right-hand side of the brain there at that particular point. He's an emotional. However, you get him in the frame of mind where he's in the process side, I think you can see that intelligence come out of him and things like that. But him talking about a world tour, again, I go back to Greg Norman's book. That's what he wanted. That's what he was trying to create, was give those top 50, 100 players, whatever it is, 70 players, a world platform to travel the world and play golf all over the world, to talk about grow the game, like get into these countries where there is an opportunity to promote or showcase their. I
feel the majority of people involved in golf are all trying to achieve what Greg Norman's was trying to get to, or what he was trying to put in place, but there's a lot of people going about it in the wrong way, and there doesn't seem to be a solution. And I don't think LIV is the solution. I don't think the PGA Tour has got it right, and there's a lot of mistakes being made by a number of people. I'm hoping it'll all come together. Maybe that's being a little bit optimistic, and that one day they can, in the hopefully not too distant future, is get a world tour and, you know, grow the game is a slogan of LIV, isn't it? And stuff, and Greg Norman. But it needs to be done in the right way, in my opinion. It's not that they haven't got that balance in the right way at the moment.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think, you know, is the platform LIV? Is that the platform? No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. It needs to be done, I think, in a slightly different avenue. But I think Greg Norman would have done this 25 years ago. Yeah. You know, if he was able to achieve that. He's only been able to achieve it through money, and he's used things like the Asian Tour to help that happen. He's got money through the Saudis to make it happen. Yeah. He's pushed into a position where he hasn't got that many years left probably in business where he wants to carry on doing all this, and therefore he was pushed into a position where he had to go. It was time to move with this.
It's somewhere in between, isn't it? Because the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, Asian Tour, all the traditional tours need to be dragged into this century, and things need to evolve, things need to change. but Liv has just gone to one. It's too extreme.
Yeah.
It needed to be gradual. Needs
Well,
to be the relaxed,
yeah.
just for one example, the relaxing of wearing shorts in particular events when it's ridiculously hot.
Yeah.
Like that needed to happen.
But Liv did it.
But Liv did it, and then the PGA Tour of sort of
DP World Tour and
let's allow shorts and stuff. And,
yeah.
You know, it's a gradual process, and maybe they both need to come. I mean, the whole Liv. I mean, it's a completely different discussion.
Subject, yeah.
But the format of Liv and the way they go about it and the team thing, it's just not what I like.
No.
I don't like shotgun starts and stuff like that. But it needs to be brought closer together to a point. And I don't think that either of them have got it. They're too extreme.
No, I completely agree, and I think that there's an avenue, and it comes down to. I mean, it doesn't even come down to what Rory wants, because you've got to remember that Greg Norman was the world number one golfer at that particular time, and he had a voice of the same voice as what Rory has right now. Yeah. And was he able to achieve it? No.
No.
So Rory's not going to achieve it by just saying that he wants a world tour. You know, it's just not going to happen. So again, unfortunately, it comes down to money, and it comes down to getting everything aligned and getting the backing of players to do it.
It is an interesting one, because the Saudi-backed football league, which was chucking a load of money at players and managers and all sorts, that seems to be, I don't want to say failing, but it's on the decline. And there's players over there now that don't want to be there. The standard's not as good as they'd hoped, and they're playing in empty stadiums. Yeah. Jordan Henderson's just basically bought himself out of his contract. He's gone over there and made no money.
Right.
He's bought himself out, and now he's gone to Ajax in the Dutch league to play. And there's other players that are saying, I'm not enjoying this. And I don't want to say falling apart, because it won't fall apart, because there'll always be people that will go over there. But it's certainly having issues. So, I mean, I don't know whether Liv is going to have those sort of issues, whether, I know they're struggling for numbers and stuff. I mean, the boxing, we're going completely off the track, right? But the boxing is fine, because they literally fly the fighters in. They're there for like a week doing press conferences. They fight in front of nobody. There's no atmosphere, but they're paid millions and millions of dollars and pounds or whatever to fight. But if you're actually basing something somewhere, it doesn't work.
No, I think you're right in the fact that, like, and it's no different to Liv. Those players can still live. You know, at the end of the day, Louis Oosthuizen still lives out in Florida. He plays all his golf out in Florida. He practices in Florida, and then he flies. You know, he's got enough money now to jump on a private jet and fly to Saudi and play in a tournament for 5 days or whatever it is he's over there for, and then fly back and then go to Australia and do the same thing. Like that's very different to a footballer who has to go to training 3 or 4 days a week or whatever it is, which is based in Saudi or wherever it's based. I don't know, but you know, very, very different type of sports, as is boxing and, you know, cage fighting and all that sort of stuff that seem to dot themselves around different venues. But
it's interesting, because I know they did it for the limited schedule and stuff. That's what they were saying, but they seem to have already added more tournaments in, and they're growing it, aren't they, and making more travel. So that's sort of taken away half the. But
a world tour only gets going if you do have the top 50 to 70 players. You know, a Liv is not really got going in the fact, because, you know, with all due respect, as good a player as Charles Schwartzel is, but he's, you know, or Ian Poulter or Lee Westwood and all these, and Henrik Stenson, as good as players as they are, they're from 10 years ago.
Yeah,
you know, they were winning majors 10 years ago, or doing well 10 years ago. So that they're
but what would happen
not has-been, but they're kind of like that funny little gap, aren't they, between, you know, when you finish county golf and then you've got to wait to senior county golf.
Yeah,
like there's that lull, but they're in that kind of lull period where they're not going to play on the Champions Tour, which they could have a lovely ending career on, which many of them have.
Yeah.
So you need, in order for it to happen, to be successful,
what if
you need the top 50 in the world, top 70 in the world to go, okay, that's fine. That's what we're going to do now.
So what if the Liv went in there and went, right, we're going to take, let's just say now, we're going to start again, we're going to offer the top 50 in the world, or top 100. Let's say we're going to take the top 100 players in the world, rankings, and we're going to say to them, name your price. Because they've more or less got unlimited funds.
Well, no, I think it comes down to what are they providing. So number one, what events? What are the events? So how many events are they playing? So obviously golfers, they want to earn. They want to be the most efficient, don't they? So not have as much tournament golf.
It's life, and at least amount of work, most money.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
But what's the schedule like? What's the prize fund? What's the events? Where are they going to be? And then what's the world ranking points to then get into majors? All of these things, it all needs to be in position to be able to go, this is what we're going to deliver.
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to pay you to come and do that. You're going to get an appearance fee, and there's this amount of money to win. And there's your tour.
Yeah.
And it might be a bit like the world. They were supposed to be world championship events, weren't they? Remember those?
Yeah.
That kind of died off a bit. Why would there not be 7 of those a year? So you get 7 of those plus 4 majors. That's 11 events, and then go and play. So that's 11 tournaments that you're playing in a year. Then go and play in the DP World Tour Rolex Series, or go and play in the FedEx Cup of the PGA Tour, and then bring the rest of them in. Do you know what I mean? That's how
you'd see it. That's how it probably work. But getting that done and in position is
massive.
Seems almost
massive, and
it's not been achieved since, like you said, since Greg Norman was probably. There's probably people pre Greg Norman who were trying to get the same sort of thing in maybe under a different umbrella or different ways, but more or less looking at the same thing which Greg Norman's been looking at, but they've not achieved it in 30, 40 years. How are they going to achieve it? It's not going to happen overnight. It's a long drawn out process, isn't it?
It really is.
And it might not even happen in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Worrying. No, not worrying, but it's different. The landscape of golf is in a strange place, I'd say.
Anything else you want to say regarding the golfing world?
No, we have talked too much.
Have we? Well, I've got some interesting information coming out that it can't come out now.
No.
But there is some exciting? Some people will be surprised. Let's say surprised if there's some changes.
Depends on your perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Absolutely right. Your loyalties.
Your
loyalties, where your loyalty stands. So there will be some more information coming out.
Big changes.
Some big changes over on not over on my channel, because it's not that at all. It's just with me personally.
Yeah. Exciting though.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I sometimes things get a little stale and you've got to shake things up and change it up a little bit. And it's giving me some great opportunities to do some not different content, but different content, different outcomes of the content.
I'd say you've milked that cow too much. It's run out of milk.
It certainly has, yeah. I could completely agree with that. You're not wrong there. Well, on that note, Bernie, let's end the Two Ball Golf Show episode 11. You said it would never continue, but it has continued into 2024.
Depends, doesn't it, if people watch this or not.
Correct, yeah.
If they don't watch it, it's done. So make sure you watch it.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, those of you on the podcast. And we'll see you for episode 12 very soon.